Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back from the break. Great to have you back with us on the search track, the best track at today's conference. I hope you had some time for some brain food, some tea or coffee or any other stimulants. I'm on my third coffee, so I'm buzzing today. But I'm extra buzzed about our new speaker, which a lot of people attending this conference have expressed advanced interest in. So after Jason's last talk that we just heard about Brand SERP, we'll be taking slightly a step back to actually look at your overall SEO strategy, helping those of you who want to gain a complete grasp of the fundamentals. So if you're part of a startup or SME, or even if you're part of an established business that's not really taken SEO seriously or in a particularly coordinated way, then this is going to be the best session of the conference for you. On that note, I want to introduce the wonderful speaker, Yagmur Simsek. So Yagmur is a rising star in the SEO industry, currently working as an SEO analyst for Resignal. And she speaks with companies all around the world in many different industries, advising them on SEO. And as such, she's developed this amazing and easy to implement roadmap for businesses just like yours. So welcome, Yagmur. The floor is yours. Let's go SEO.
Thanks for the introduction, Larry, and thanks for having me here for all the event organizers. Great, so I'm just going to share my screen. And yeah, here we go. Just to check that if you can see my screen properly. I think it should be fine.
I can see it, yep.
Great, thank you. So our topic today is how to create an SEO content strategy for your startup from the scratch. So I just thought that it would be good to tell a bit more about my background so that you will see why I'm having this kind of content and creating these Google Sheets to help you out on your journey. So I'm Yagmur Simsek. I'm currently working as an SEO strategist at Resignal, and I'm also have been contributor to startupsoflondon.com, which is actually a multimedia publishing platform that features startups and their journeys and their stories. So I had a chance to involved in this process and see what are startups' main pain points, their needs, and their network and community. So I got a lot of insights from those experiences. And I'm from Turkey, but living in London and UK for the last couple of years. And since then, I used to work as a content manager, and then I switched to SEO, and then I used this content background for the content strategies, etc., in the SEO industry, and helped with 25 plus clients so far, including B2B and B2C. And of course, I love coffee as Larry, and I've been having coffee since 2010. And I'm also in my free time, I'm also writing song lyrics. It's kind of I just wanted to share it because it's kind of an inspiration point for me, and so that I will create more insight and more content for my clients as well, like for the future. So let's start. Today's agenda is we will cover why SEO is important for your content strategy, where to start with developing a content strategy for your startup or small business, and things to consider during this journey, and also improving and maintaining this organic performance, or analyzing your performance through the way. So the reason that I created this kind of outlines is I know that when you're a startup, you have a limited budget, or you have a limited resource, or workforce, and it's always hard to understand where to start or how to continue with your strategies in terms of SEO and content, and why this is important for your startup, or is this important for your startup, and maybe you should be considering something else for your marketing strategy, but you don't know it already. So that's why I created a free Google Sheet and to help you out on this journey. So this is kind of a roadmap that you can maybe follow easily from the start. Like I also shared some tabs, and so that you can just go to the relevant tab and see the checklist, questions, or the template that you may want to use during your content strategy journey. So we will have goal setting, content audit section, content strategy phase, content briefing phase, and keyword researching, because content briefing and keyword research are involved together, and they need to be conducted together. And then like the briefing checklist and management template. So why an SEO driven strategy is important for your startup? I know that we already know that SEO is like increasing the organic traffic, etc. But we also need to be careful about which kind of organic traffic we are receiving to our website. Is it like, is it for expanding our customer base, or is it for increasing brand awareness, or something else that we are really aiming to get with this traffic? So it is helping in most cases, like when you increase your traffic, you will also increase your potential customer base, and then the brand awareness, and then wider coverage on online platforms. But at the end, it's also important to use this traffic, this exposure, for your startup's success, like if you are selling a product or service, etc. So that's why I created this roadmap. So the things that you need to be considering are your goals, your content audit. If you already have a website and already created a content on your website, you should also start with content auditing and knowing your audience insights, main competitors list. And because it is not always like your competitors in your mind, if you are going to create a content strategy, you also need to consider your content competitors. Like maybe your competitor doesn't have a blog section, but they may have hidden blogs in some other domains, or they maybe you don't have direct competitors, but some publishers or article platforms are having a similar audience with you and creating more high quality content than you. So you need to be aware of these kind of things. And you also need to be aware of your top ranking, your competitors' top ranking contents, because the reason that I'm saying competitors is when you're a startup and when you have a niche industry and when you don't have any content before, the content strategy before, you need to start from somewhere. So I would recommend you to start analyzing your competitors and then filling that gap, the keyword and the content gap, and then creating new strategies and catching the new trends, and maybe before them occupying the space on the online platforms. So that's why I have like two versions of where to start, which you can also see on the sheet later. We will be sharing this presentation later on, so you will be reaching every kind of links in here, and you can just go directly to the relevant tab from here as well. So we have got two versions of where to start. The one is if you are a startup or small business, and if you already have some content on your website from before, you should start with content auditing, because you first need to know that what kind of contents are working on your website, what kind of contents are not working, and you maybe spend your money and effort on it, but you did get nothing. So you need to be aware of these kind of insights from your data, so that in the future you will be using those insights to create a new and well optimized and considered strategy for your startup. So to be able to do that, I have created a very comprehensive content audit sheet that you will see the details later when you land to the sheet, because we have a limited time here. But we had a workshop about this yesterday, so I think it was really helpful for the attendees, as I heard. So whenever you want, we can go through it again, and you can always ask me questions that I share my contact details. So in here, you will be seeing like 3-4 sections, including health check, organic performance data, on-page data, and content details. So from there, you can start crawling your website. There are some free tools. You don't have to pay for it for the beginning. There's a Screaming Frog. It is limited with 500 URLs, but you can still use it, because maybe if you're a startup, you don't have more than 500 URLs. So when you crawl your website and when you match your Google Analytics and Google Search Console data together, you will see some useful data to analyze your content strategy and the content on your existing pages. And you can write your like page views, average times, total clicks, impressions and revenue, if you already tracking your revenue from those contents or transactions and sign up. These are like optional because not all the websites are selling products or services, but maybe they're planning to collect leads or form contacts and other kind of data. And it all depends on your aim and goals while creating your website. So just tweak the sentence, tweak the titles, and maybe switch some of them with the ones that you think that is important for your startup to see. And there is also on page content section that you can see existing metadata, and also you can also leave some notes for yourself. This content is working well, but metadata is missing. So just write some note if does the data meta required action, or maybe include some internal link suggestion for that content to make it rank better, and maybe push to the first page of Google if it's already in the second page, etc. So and then if you are working with, for example, authors, or if you are creating different kind of contents like guides, pages, reports, news, blogs, category contents, or product contents are maybe important for you. So you can also include those kind of details along with your organic traffic data, so that at the end you will see, for example, if your page requires more like sensible CTAs, like the CTA that makes sense for your feature goals, like maybe collecting leads or directing your users to the product sales page, etc. So this is these things are the things that you should be considering while you are revising your strategy or beginning to your content strategy. Because if you are creating content, you are spending your time, you are spending your effort, you are spending your budget and your workforce, so, and the team. So I know that I used to work at a startup, and then we have seen a really good growth in time, and we have came in a scale up process. But it's been a very challenging process because as a content manager, I have been doing some other stuff too, like customer service, account management. And I know that everybody in startups are doing something else to be able to catch up with the pace and the environment and the competitors. So time is important for you, and also the efforts. That's why it is important that you considered your strategy very well from the beginning, so that you are going to create content that has the high quality rather than the quantity. Sometimes quantity is not that important, but if you create really well considered content, it's going to be like evergreen content, and maybe will last, have a long lasting performance in the future, and will keep bringing you potential customers or visitors. So just feel free to make a copy of this sheet, and then fill the cells on that, and then see what kind of things that you may think. Like if your content has, for example, lots of impressions but doesn't have any organic clicks, you may want to see what is your target keyword on that content, and then for that target keyword in your location, the targeted location, what kind of search results you have. Like maybe you have created, like, let's say you created a content like how to write a business pitch deck, but maybe some of your competitors already written a content plus including free PDF or free business template sheet or document. And just put yourself into your customer's shoes. Like when a person search for a business pitch template, how to write it, etc., you may also need some template, So if I see a free template included, of course I'm going to click on that result. So just make sure that your SEO title, or your CTA on the content title, and also in your content, the content that you give having a high quality, and also helping the reader at the end of their journey on your article. So I mentioned that we have two versions to start, because if you don't have any content on your website already, it means that you need to consider some more stuff from the beginning. So these kind of questions are actually very, very useful questions if you're at the beginning of your journey, because From my experience as well, I wanted to create a website like called Just Boutique and for remote workers, digital nomads, and creating content and making partnership with small businesses. But I I I kept asking myself the questions, what is my initial goal and where I'm going, At the end, I felt like, okay, I'm not going anywhere and I need to stop at some point because I'm, spending my time and effort and my nights, but maybe it's not going anywhere because there are many websites doing this and I couldn't see the differentiating point for my business. So that's why I stopped working for it, and then I just wanted to answer all these questions because it's very important from the initial step. Once you can answer all these questions, you can actually create your content strategy very well considered and very well structured. Even your menu navigation, your category pages, your product pages, and filters as well. So some of questions including what's your initial goal, what's your audience insights in your industry, and what capacity do you have in terms of content production. It's also important because if you are planning to publish one content in a week, or if you don't have that kind of resources or budget to spare for it, you need to consider different kind of content formats. If, for example, if you cannot publish regularly like your competitors does, if they are doing, and you need to check their content page speed as well, so and their indexed page. So it's just very important to understand what kind of content do you need. Some websites are not having blog pages, but they are having like a FAQ hub page and answering all the FAQs about their products or services, and then at the end they are receiving a niche traffic because those questions are long tail keywords, and people who are searching for them is eventually going to become their customers, their potential customers. So it's very important to understand what kind of content do you need and what kind of budget or effort do you want to spend for it. So maybe you want to create a guidelines page like for your products or for your service. Just one guideline can even bring you lots of traffic in time, not from the beginning of course, but you will have some time that Google will index your page, and Google will make sure that you are providing the high quality content, etc. So these kind of questions are very important, and I'm sure that if you can go this sheet and make a copy and then answer those questions by yourself, taking some time and thinking about your strategy, it would be very helpful for your future content strategy phase. Because in the upcoming slides, we will talk about some other phases of content strategy, and it's going to be helping you a lot. For example, I just wanted to give an example here. If I was a fintech startup, because they are very trendy right now, I just picked that topic. And we had, me and my previous partner, we had a freelance project about fintech startups blog page. So they were planning to expand to UK from Turkey. And then we wanted to make sure that they are creating the high quality and trend topic content. So we just created some content and categorization ideas and then presented it to the client, etc. But in this case, I felt like if I was a fintech startup owner, how would I start analyzing my competitors? So I would search for top fintech startups in the UK, and then I would maybe consider the first 3 or 4 pages that list startups in the UK, and then from there I would go and check a couple or 4 or 5 competitors' website and see if their blog pages are or category pages are getting really good traffic. How will I see that? I'm using SEMrush, I'm using Ahrefs, and I know they are really paid tools, and for a startup it could be a very high level budget to start with your SEO content strategy. But most of the tools have free versions, trial versions, like for a month or 2 months or for a week. So if you answer all these questions in the beginning, and if you already know and have some ideas about what kind of categorization or keywords or content product pages or service pages you're going to be creating, you may want to have a list and then you may want to use those trial periods of the paid tools to make sure that you will have your competitors' data and keyword gap and other kind of data that you can export from those tools, and you can use them later on your Google Sheet as a free, and then make sure that you are having some ideas about your competitors' content. So I would do the same. I would go to the fintech startups websites and blog pages, and I would see what kind of content they have been creating so far. Like, were they educating people in terms of the fintech industry, or were they educating the people in terms of their product or service, or I don't know, anything that you can think about it, or were they maybe publishing reports or like industry reports or any other things to catch investors' attention, etc. There are like different kind of personas that you may want to consider during your content journey. So after all these starting points, we need to start thinking about our customer journeys. Like, in the past, we have been talking about the customer journey as like awareness, consideration, purchase. But now we've got like awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, purchase, and post-purchase processes. And plus, we have like search customer journey, which are mostly informational, navigational, transactional, and commercial. So while talking about search customer journey, we are talking about like the keywords that we are searching on Google and how they want to see the results with their keywords. For example, if I already said that I would be search for top fintech startups in UK if I was a fintech startup owner and looking for my competitors' data. So I am definitely searching for top startups. So I want to have some information. I don't want to buy a product or subscribe to a service or order a service or something like that. So these kind of things are things that you should also be thinking about. Which kind of search customer journey you want to focus on. This can be one or two or four of them, but it's also important to consider all these steps before your content creation and content strategy briefing. So while you are on the process, while you are trying to create your strategy, it is important that how you can make your audience aware of your trend, your service, or your product. This is kind of an awareness process. You just need to think about because if you're a startup, you have a very niche product or you have a very niche service and people may not even know about it. Maybe they are not aware of that need in their lives. So it's also important to consider all these steps to make them aware and make them interest in your product, etc. So is it going to be covering your audience search intent? Like you may have a product, but you may not be focusing on the keywords that your potential visitors would be searching for. For you, it could be very easy to search for like specific product or service, but maybe it has some alternative names in public or in other people's lives. So think about those kind of queries as well, so that you will catch all the people's attention. This is not the same example, but actually it is maybe similar for an e-commerce website. Let's say, for example, if you are selling sneakers in US or trainers in US, but you are only focusing on sneaker keywords in UK, it is not going to be the best approach. Maybe you may want to focus on trainers and trainers relevant keywords as well, because maybe it could be the same language, but people's perception and people's common use of keywords and product names would be differ according to the country or the location. So just make sure that you're aware of those kind of changes. Like maybe I'm searching for 5 kilometers run kind of advices and then you may be providing me some running advice and shoes, but at the end some people may be searching for 5 miles or 8 miles or 3 miles running pace and each the roadmap for their running journey. So these kind of miles, kilometers, centimeters, these kind of things are also you need to be thinking in terms of the international expansion if you are going for international service. So again, to continue, you should also make sure that you have a clear sitemap. Your main menu navigation really reflects what you are initially doing and what you are initially offering to your customers. Sometimes we may see some main menu navigations which are hidden, or sometimes the user experience are really not good, or sometimes they are not really reflecting what you are doing as a search, as a visitor, let's say, like anonymous visitor. I would love to see, if I'm gonna land any startup page, I would love to see what they are doing exactly from their menu navigation or their main homepage. So it is really important to think about this stuff as well, and make sure that you have your categorization very well considered, very clear, and giving some ideas to users what they're gonna find when they click on that category or products page, or the blog or guideline page. So another thing that you, again, with the tools, with their free trials, you can also see the keyword gap, the content gap between you and your competitors. So if you already identified your competitor, as we already discussed, if you already have that list before you sign up for a free trial, now you can you can use their keyword gap reports analysis, and then you can export that data and start analyzing the keywords that you are already missing from your competitors. If you're a new website and if you already don't have any content, and I mean, if the tool is not going to give your data, you can use this one. You can again only use your main competitors, and then I think on SEMrush I can see it, but I'm not sure about Ahrefs. I need to check. You can also see the common keywords that competitors are using at the moment. Like, because when all your competitors are competing for some common keywords, you may some ideas about, okay, there is some gap and there is some opportunity for those keywords I can start with, because they can be a competitive keywords, but they also can give you some ideas what kind of products or categories are most demanded, like most popular in terms of your industry, and then you can start from there, and then you can add like some long tail keywords covering those kind of areas, but maybe different than your competitors, so that you will be covering your keyword gap, and then plus you will be creating some other creative ideas to occupy the search volume before they discover those kind of keywords. And additionally, what about the post-purchase process? So if you're a startup, I don't know about your product or service yet, but it all depends on your niche and your service as well. But I always believe in the loyal customers and recurring customers potential too. So obviously, if you're e-commerce, of course you will need the existing customer data again and again. Their potential visits would be giving you more revenue and more traffic in the future. And also, if you are a service owner, and if your service doesn't require like recurring, maybe your service is a big service, and once they are purchased, maybe it's not requiring one more purchase or kind of that. But again, if the customer is satisfied with your service after the purchase process, and if you are educating your existing customers on your products, on your service, and if you are really inspiring them after their purchase too, you are creating some loyalty here. So you also need to consider all these steps, because when you create loyalty, even if the same person or same customer comes back to you, they can refer someone else's to your service, or they can, the word of mouth is always very popular, so they can leave you some good reviews and comments, and then they can send your information or website to other person or the service. So it's really important to consider all these steps too. Just don't forget about your existing customers. Just try to consider their journey on your website as well. Just make them come back to your website again, and then inspire them through your products and startup journey. So how to continue? Let's say we already have answers all these kind of questions in our minds, and now it is time to brainstorm and create some content ideas and create those contents and put them in a production phase, and then manage the process in your startup, because it is also important to have the data very clearly in your hands during this process. So we have got brainstorming session, competitor content analysis, which we already discussed. We do some keyword research starting from our, the gap, and then we will come up with some ideas and write down the main topics, and then put them in a detailed version, and finding writers, the right writers, because I would suggest you to not go for like any random writer for your content production. And as you can also, as you're also tracking the news and following the Google updates, etc., it's also important to provide high quality and accurate and data and content and information. So just make sure that you are working with the right writer, and you do your research and then find the best writer for your content, and make sure that you create a really well structured content brief, so that you will get the best content that you were dreaming and expecting. And then creating agenda and a plan is also important. So as I started with the fintech example, I just wanted to continue what we did for that blog categorization. So after I shared the competitors search phase on my own, like in here we also did this categorization with my friend. So we extracted all the metadata and categorization and blog data of our competitors in a Google Sheet, and then we have added their category names, and so what kind of categories they have been, creating to attract their visitors or educate their customers or existing data. So we have come up with like 5-6 kind of main hub content ideas, like business hub, money talks kind of titles, or there were like many more. I just shared 2 examples in here. So after that, in under their the main titles, we wanted to put the place the subcategories that we have gained from our competitors, and solve the long list of subtopics and categories. In terms, let's say for the money talks, we have seen that most of the competitors were having some academic sessions, like a banking 101, or how money works, or just they were like trying to educate their customers on their financial literacy. So, and it was one of the mission of that startup we used to work, and that's why we thought this could be a good area. And then we also added some of our new suggestions, as cryptocurrency has been becoming very popular, and then we thought that it should be a very, very good quality content for people who want to get some education in terms of the topic and the area. So, and then we have seen some how-to guides, or opinion and tips and trends in terms of managing their budgets, etc., or kind of industry tips and guidelines. So we have collected all this kind of data and then presented to the client to see which kind of content they want to continue with. And then we started the content briefing and title creation, and then content production. Because before we know all these kind of missions and goals of the customer and the KPIs, we cannot go further and create our briefing and keyword research list and other title list as well. So to be able to create this list, we just use Screaming Frog and the free version. Of course, the free version, you cannot see all the URLs, but you can have an idea about which kind of content they have been creating. And then you can also see their traffic, like average traffic from the paid tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs if you are using. And then make sure that you are working on a very high level opportunity keywords and categorization. So to help you out on this journey, and I have shared some keyword research list and content briefing checklist. On the content brief checklist, you will find the things that you should be considering while you are creating your content briefs for the writers, because it's very important process, as I used to be a writer as well in the past, and I know how important the briefing is for the writers. So just don't leave them alone, just give them the ideas, the details, etc. I would suggest you to create a generic content brief first, including your overview about your brand voice, tone of voice, and the things that you should be considering about the quality, etc. And then there will be the second phase, which you will be changing regularly according to the title, like title, keywords that should be used in the title, maybe subtopics that you are expecting to see, or the internal links that you want to direct people from that content to another one, anchor text, etc. So these kind of details are really important. So I created the default template for this. Just feel free to make a copy and then use for your own purposes. And I also shared the keyword research sheet, which includes some free tools that you may want to use during your keyword research journey. And also I have included some insights about in my experience, of course, because everybody has different methods on keyword research. So I just wanted to share my experience and my methods through this journey. So after all these things, we have this after content process. So what we should be considering to improve and maintain the organic performance, or other things that we need to be considering. So you need to have a content calendar and practice calendar management, because if you are producing all this content at the moment, you also need to be tracking their performance. If they are published, where is the published link, or which was the published date, because maybe you want to see the performance later, how many months later it started getting traffic, or which was the author, who was the author of this article. Maybe you will want to work with that author later. So if you start managing all these kind of calendars and also the data on one platform, one sheet, or anywhere, like if you are using tool management, project management platform, just go for it. So just make sure that you are tracking your content regularly. And then you can invite, if you're a service provider, for example, you may want to invite your top customers or your loyal customers to contribute to your content, which really creates some trustful expression, trustfulness, and also maybe give more insights to your potential customers. So maybe you can include quotes, you can do Q&A sessions, or etc., or like testimonials. So and also when you create a content, don't limit yourself with the blogs only. Just if you maybe create an article, maybe think about turning those articles into different kind of content pieces, such as like ebooks, like free PDF downloads, or because when you offer free PDF downloads, you can collect some emails maybe, and then maybe remarket them with their permission, of course, considering GDPR. But also you can turn those articles into podcast pieces, and because podcast SEO is also becoming a very big trend, so maybe you want to catch that trend. Or you can use short videos on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. So depending on your niche, just make sure that you are in different platforms that your search potential users are using at the moment. And make sure that for your most important page, the page that bringing you the most revenue, make sure that you are also using some paid ads to increase the content visibility, but maybe not go for the same keywords. Just try to optimize your paid budget with the organic keywords as well. So maybe returning customers, again, make sure that you are using maybe like newsletters or some educational content to take them back to your website. And regularly check your organic and paid performance, because make sure that you are doing a good job with the content creation. If the contents have not been receiving traffic after a long period, I mean, like after 4 or 5 months or 3 months, just check regularly. Sometimes when content published, it just go make the peak point and then continue like this. But sometimes it needs some time to be discovered by Google and users. So give them time, but don't forget to regularly check the performance and optimize your content according to the new trends and also the first page results contents. Just make sure that you include all the relevant information and quality features that your competitors are already doing for the first page results, like feature snippets. Just check the feature snippets. Think about why they would be featured in the snippets. Like maybe they have table of contents in the beginning and then maybe listing or anything that you can think of. So as I mentioned, I shared the tools and platforms to start with the keyword researching and some content ideas. And most of them are free, and most of them have their free versions, trial versions. And don't forget to use your existing data from your CRM tools and also other chatbots or some other tools. Because, like for example, I used to use Zendesk. So Zendesk has been a very good data for us to answer the people's questions and maybe turning those questions to content. So to come to the end, I have a little surprise. So I would like to give away mini content audit and strategy recommendations for 3 startup websites. These documents will be provided in May. So I need access to Google Analytics and Google Search Console. If you use the hashtag mini content audit and mention me on Twitter, I will contact you as soon as possible. First come, first serve. So up to you. And thanks for listening to me. It's a really good journey. Startup journey is a very exciting journey. So just don't forget to enjoy this fantastic journey, because you'll remember all these memories with a smile in the future. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you so much for that, Yagmur. That was an absolutely brilliant walkthrough of the fundamentals. I'm sure I speak for everyone here that we learned a hell of a lot, and I'm sure people are going to be itching to get going with their own strategies at the moment. So just because we've got 3 minutes left, I want to quickly get to the Q&A in case you're able to answer things. So we've got one from Mariam Masood, who says, are there any good free local tools you can recommend for organic keywords search for a startup? I think you covered a few things, but maybe you want to just recap that point?
Yeah, sure. Maybe if it's easier to open that slide. So actually, there is always some other tools, but these are the things that I thought you can find very easy to use and have more ideas. Like we have Answer the Public, also ask, and people also search for. These are the Google's. These are feeding themselves from the Google's data. So you will already reach that data and some starting point. And if you can download my presentation later, and you will see the list and the links of those tools and
Brilliant.
some methods and insights that you want to follow while you are using the tools. And obviously, I use SEMrush and Ahrefs very often to see some keyword gaps and keyword data. You can always use them. And of course, just in your brain, in your intent, just gut feeling, search some keywords on Google. It's free. I mean, search some alternatives and see what kind of things that Google is suggesting you. So this is the very hot topic data that Google is providing. So just make sure that you are also doing this manual checks on Google as well.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. And the last question was by Marta Sevilla, who says, does it mean that we need to create content for awareness, interest, consideration, etc., as well as creating different content for the different types of searches?
Yeah. So to come to that point, it's kind of they're all combined each other. This is just to make sure that you're also considering those kind of intents of the customer. These are kind of the intents, but these are the phase of the journey. So if you are thinking about the awareness journey, you may want to use informational and navigational intents, like you are creating some awareness in your industry. Like maybe people in the past, people didn't need I don't know, I just didn't need the online banking system, but now they need it to manage their financials, or like Monzo. I'm using Monzo, and it's giving me notification each month. You spend like this amount of money for food and drink. I was like, maybe I didn't need it in the past, but now I kind of educated myself to maybe spend less, and then. But these kind of startup and tools considerations are really important to keep your customers interested in your product and service. So just think about the journey as well. But feel free to shout me an email or Twitter message if you have any questions about the details, and I will happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Yagmur. I think that's the questions we have for now. There's one last one, which was to share your insights on how we can try to attract wider audience to our paid advertisement posts over social media. Yeah.
So for the paid advertising, I haven't had an experience on the paid channels, but I can say that paid and organic sections can work together. So if you are directing a user to your landing page, just make sure that landing page is having a good quality content, including your organic keywords about that niche topic, and also make sure that the page speed is really good, and you have exactly the updated titles, meta descriptions, and maybe the content word counts. It's also important. Just check your competitors' similar landing page, how many word count they have, and do they have any visuals or videos or podcasts on that page. Just make sure that you are directing people from the paid advertisements to the really high quality page, so that you will make the most out of it. You will have a CTA maybe on the page, so just make sure that that CTA is visible, that you have that banner on the landing page, and also I don't know, any click button is working well, not going to the directing people like a not found page, because I've seen paid ads. I'm clicking on paid ads, you are paying for that paid ads, but I'm going to the 404 page at the end, so there's no point to pay for that clicks. So just make sure your page is having a healthy situation at that moment.
Great. Well, everybody, I hope you join me in thanking Yagmur for her time today, and it was an absolutely amazing presentation. And yeah, Yagmur, thanks so much. I hope we'll see you around the conference as well.
Yeah.
We've got to close down this one, so we can move on to the next bit of the track. But
Great.
yeah, definitely thank you so much for everything, and hopefully see you around.
Yeah, see you. Thanks so much for all this opportunity and listening to me.
Cheers, cheers.
Bye.
There's a 10-second countdown to stopping the stream.
Yeah.
Just freeze. Oh. There we go. Everyone's